A boy kept pounding on the floor. He thought there were mice under the floor. Under his frantic knocks, a hole was broken in the floor. He looked towards the hole to find the trace of the mouse, but he saw an eye. At this time, the widow Bronwyn returned home. She found the orcs were heading towards the village and wanted to leave with her son. When Bronwyn entered the house, she saw a mess and a big hole in the floor. She immediately realized that the orcs had arrived in their village. She thought the orcs had captured her son. She called out her son's name a few times, but Theo stuck his head out of the locker in the wall. Bronwyn still did not ask about the situation. There was an abnormal noise from the hole as if some creature was coming this way. She quickly hid in the locker. As soon as the door was closed, a strange hand stretched out from the hole. Bronwyn peered through the locker's gap and saw orcs climb up through the hole. There was fear on her face. Tiny teeth spread across Orc's lips, and he wears a strange skull as a mask. But in a blink of an eye, the orc was missing. Suddenly the locker door was opened by the orc, causing Bronwyn to scream loudly. Seeing that his mother was in danger, Theo took out a knife and plunged it into the orc's body. The orc threw off his mask and chased her son. Bronwyn grabbed a long knife to distract the orc. Then a rope dropped from the attic and wrapped around the orc's neck. Theo tries to strangle Orcs with the cord, but Orc's sharp fingernails cut the rope. Bronwyn watched Orc approach his son, picking up the knife and slashing at the Orc. She found the villagers with the severed head of Orcs and urged everyone to leave here quickly. When Theo was packing his luggage, he saw the broken sword he picked up, with Sauron's symbol engraved on it. While he was holding the sword, strange things happened. The wounds inflicted during the battle with the orc were bleeding slowly. Blood flowed towards broken sword. When the blood touched the broken sword, there was a burst of black smoke, slowly repairing the broken sword. The scene in front of Theo deeply attracted him. After the broken sword was repaired, Bronwyn, her son, and the villagers went to the elf scout tower. Arondir, who was on patrol in Hordern. He was inspecting the tunnels orcs had dug in the ground. Turning back, he saw an orc walking toward him, and he immediately crawled forward. He could only crawl forward in this narrow tunnel. He crossed the narrowest point, landed in an underground river, and swam towards the shore. He took out his dagger to defend himself and looked at the water in horror. He saw some blisters slowly floating up from the bottom of the water, indicating that some creatures were breathing underwater. But he didn't notice what was behind him. On the other side, Harfoot's girl Nori came to the crater and saw a man lying there. When she carefully observed the person, she accidentally fell into the crater. She touched the flame on the ground with her hand, but found it was not hot at all. Nori poked the man lying on the ground with his finger. The man woke up and suddenly grabbed her hand. The man was screaming in pain. At this time, the stone around him slowly floated up. He looked into Nori's eyes, and suddenly the fire on the ground disappeared. But not long after, he was exhausted and fell to the ground. As soon as he lay down, there was a raging fire around him. The flames had no temperature and only burned when the man fainted, indicating the fire was there for others to find him. Nori and Poppy find a cart to take the man to safety. They found a suitable hiding place under a large tree nearby. The next day, Nori found the man with food. He was drawing strange symbols on the stone. Hearing Nori coming here, he started yelling again. It all slowly faded away with the roaring wind until Nori said she had saved him. She brought food to the man and asked him what his name was. But the man ate the snails and said nothing else. Seeing this, Nori left. At night, she came to the man again. The man was staring at the stars in the sky, looking for something. Hearing someone coming, he turned his head and stared at Poppy's lantern. The lantern shook violently and fell to the ground, turning into thousands of fireflies. He said something to the fireflies and directed them to fly towards the night sky. Fireflies form a mysterious constellation in the sky. Galadriel was swimming aimlessly in the vast ocean. She seemed to sense the danger behind her and turned around. She took out her dagger to defend. She saw a broken ship slowly emerge from the mist. The people on the boat saw Galadriel in the water and rescued her. At this time, the ship's sails could be seen slowly appearing from the mist in the distance. They had been adrift at sea for a long time, so they were immediately excited when they saw the sails. Only Galadriel stood there, staring at the sails in the mist. There was a long fin swimming in the sea. It turned out a monster was dragging the wreckage of a ship toward them. You can only see how giant the monster is from a high altitude. The monsters staggered their wreck with their fins. A woman thinks the monster was attracted by Galadriel and pushes her to the sea. Galadriel frowned as he looked at the monster's tail in the water, as if it reminded her of something. The monster swam towards the broken boat again, but fortunately, Galadriel was pushed into the sea. Otherwise, she would have been eaten by the monster with others. She quickly escaped here while the monster devoured the others. As the monster left, the entire sea returned to calm. Galadriel looked back, and there was only mist all around. A raft slowly appeared in the mist. A man escaped from the broken ship during a crisis, built a raft temporarily, and came to rescue Galadriel after the monster left. In conversation with the man, Galadriel got his name Halbrand. The orcs have destroyed his country, and he and his villagers are fleeing. But the ship encountered a monster at sea, causing the ship to crash. Galadriel had been looking for orcs for a long time, which made her immediately perk up and inquire about Halbrand orcs. Halbrand told her that they met the orcs in the south of Middle-earth. At this moment, the sound of a thunderstorm sounded behind them. The storm in the distance was hitting their raft. They were instantly swept away by the waves. They held on to the raft until the storm was over. They were too tired and fell asleep on the log. After dawn, a figure appeared in front of them. Galadriel looked up, only to see a large ship in front of them. They were saved. In the Eregion of Middle-earth, this is the realm of elves artisans. The king is preparing to build the most powerful forge, capable of forging weapons of immense power to protect Middle-earth from the orcs. But such a forge needs a vast number of workers to complete. Elves cannot provide such amount workforce. So Elrond suggested the king seek help from other races. They came from Eregion to Khazad-dûm, the kingdom of dwarves. Dwarves has the most potent forging process in the world. The king was worried that dwarves would not help them, but Elrond seemed confident. He told the king that he and Prince Durin had a good relationship, and he would be able to solve the problem. It made him a little embarrassed when he was turned away after saying his name to the doorman. Elrond asked the king to go back first. He would solve the problem by staying here. He thought for a moment, and told the guard that he wanted to perform the rite of Sigyn Tirag. The door opened instantly, and he was invited in by dwarves. The sight of Khazad-dûm in front of him attracted him deeply. The magnificent building fully reflects dwarves' prowess in construction. That's when Durin came out, and when Elrond wanted to say hello to Durin in a friendly way, he was ignored. The ritual that Elrond is going to perform is to play a game of stone smashing with Durin. They too use a hammer to smash the stone, and it will not end until one of the parties has no strength or voluntarily admits defeat. The loser will be banished from the dwarves' kingdom forever. If he wins, dwarves grants one of his wishes. They smashed rocks one by one with a hammer, until Elrond ran out of strength. He put the hammer on the ground and conceded defeat. Elrond watched Durin raise his hand and cheer. He was confused and asked Durin to get him out of here. Elrond asked Durin on the mechanical elevator why their friendship had disappeared. Durin was very sad and spoke angrily. In the past 20 years, Khazad-dûm has changed a lot. Durin was married and had 2 children. But Elrond had never come to congratulate him. 20 years was short for elves, but the best years for dwarves. Durin thought Elrond had given up on their friendship. Only then did Elrond realize what a mistake he had made. He reassured Durin he wanted to meet his wife, congratulating them in person. The wife hugged Elrond very warmly and told him to stay for dinner. At the dinner table, his wife kept persuading Durin to let go and reconcile them. This made Durin's attitude a little better. Elrond took the opportunity to tell him about wanting dwarves to help build the forge. Durin turned around and told his father about it for his approval. But his father, king of dwarves, told him to watch out for elves. Then he and his father came to a box. As the box opened, there was brilliant light inside.